only have one earth. My life has demonstrated how detrimental that has been. So maybe now I want to move. Maybe instead of being closer to the water, being closer to a forest, an example. That's where you give the specific therapeutic intervention for the client based on what they need.
So in our cases, we're not missing, but we're low on fire. Then the whole red hair, it's a good,
Absolutely, and wearing red like you did the other day.
and my nails.
So I guess I have to re-dye my hair because I have the red hair dye. I'm ready for that.
Okay, so now you bring in the red element, you bring in the
You're on
fire, maybe doing fires, bonfires, speaking up, passion.
Bonfire's fine.
Those are ways, and of course, hanging out with people that have a lot of fire.
You're on fire, so that means you're struggling somewhere.
I'm on fire
Yeah.
today. Yeah, I really feel that this news that I got from my friend really motivated me. Like is making me feel like, okay, wait, there's hope.
If they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Let's do this together, sort
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
So he had texted me earlier and he's like, let the wine pour or something like that. Because I said, when are we going to go celebrate? And I said, I'm wearing a Merlot dress just to celebrate.
Let's have Merlot.
You know, so we're dressing, and your clients too, because they want to send a message. There's no accidents. All of those nonverbals mean something.
So what do you do if a client they aren't really accepting of a change? Like they know they need to change, but they're not accepting of it. Like how do you guide them?
Very, very common. That's okay. First step is awareness. Remember the Band-Aid. Awareness. Integration, this is when they're actually going to start integrating what you're saying and then do it different.
Hashtag do it different.
Different.
Tattoo
I'm
that.
sure I spelled it wrong. Different. Hashtag do it differently. You take them to awareness, you've done your job. Making them aware of the story. Making them aware that they want to stay in that and wallow in it. That's okay. Just you bring them to that awareness about it. And some people aren't ready to be aware. They're in therapy, so they're probably, interested in learning some awareness. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's court mandated. Maybe they're gonna lose their marriage if they don't get into therapy. Maybe they just wanna blame someone and have someone to yell at for an hour a week. There's lots of reasons why people are motivated to go to therapy.
If you go to therapy, it's not because you want to change something?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sometimes people just go to therapy because they want someone to listen to them. Remember, children, you did not get unconditional love. Your parents did not love you unconditionally. Your therapist can love you. Your therapist can tell you you're right. Your therapist can validate you. Your therapist can listen. How many of you were listened all the time by your parents? None of us. So to have 1 hour a week where someone is listening and telling you you're right, it sucks. Sometimes that's all they need. That might lead them to a change. But a lot of times people are just looking for that and they don't even know why. Sometimes their marriage is falling apart and their partner said, well, you better get to therapy. So they go. Sometimes they're mandated by the court, so they have to go.
I only laugh because if your marriage is falling apart and they say, well, you need to go to therapy, chances are that partner's not listening to you, otherwise you wouldn't need to sit with a stranger for an hour.
Possibly. And one of the things that happens, partner equals parents. Likelihood is you didn't have a parent that listened. That's why there's transference. That's why people fall in love with their therapists. Because, well, my spouse doesn't do this for me. My spouse doesn't listen to me all the time, but here is this therapist
Who's listening?
who's listening. I fall in love with that person. It's not true love. It's called transference. It's a problem in therapy, but it exists.
But like with my therapist, I guess he was so tired of hearing the same crap over and over about me and my mom. He told me to break the chain and to just like not go see her, like just do my life apart from her. And I think I talked to you about that, like in earlier classes. And I told you I don't want to do that either because of my kid. So I'm trying to work it out.
So was that a good suggestion?
Not really. To me.
Is that an appropriate therapeutic intervention?
No, he was just tired.
Yeah.
Then he should have known he was tired and referred
And
you.
referred, yeah.
I mean, one way is break the chain of behavior, I guess.
Yeah, that, yeah.
But
But that's a
not break
personal
it.
choice.
But not break that completely. Like you
But
can't
don't-
just say.
You don't advise, you ask, do you think that, how would you feel about moving away
Right,
from her?
and is that even a possibility?
No.
And what effect would it have on her son? There's values, family
Yeah.
values, and for
Can't
him,
tell
it
someone
might
just
have
to cut it
worked,
off.
but it may
Yeah.
not work for her.
I had a therapist and he, obviously again, he was like, we were talking about my mom and all that, because she was the one that took me to see him because I had a panic attack. And when we left the private room and my mom came over and she's like, so what happened, doctor? And he treated her so bad that I was like this. And I looked at him, and just because I'm not the type of person to like speak up, but in my head, I was like, don't fucking talk to my mom like that. She's a bitch, but she's my bitch, And after that, I'll never forget that when I decided to like go for it and come to school for this career, like I have to learn from that doctor's mistake. He fucked up by betraying me, my trust, and the fact that he mistreated my mom in front of me. Even though he realized that inside the therapy, he was telling me how I would defend her. And she's like mistreating me because she had a bad childhood. So if you see that I have such a connection with my mom, even though it's like a messed up connection, you shouldn't, you shouldn't do that.
But so
No.
many
Shouldn't do
people
that.
get into this field because they've had a bad therapy experience and they want to make it better for the next client.
I always said that the main reason is because I want to be the person that I wish I had. So I want to be there for.
But it
for
also
others.
proves that therapists are human,
Yeah.
and everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're there, you're his client, so you're there, he's trying to see what your benefit is.
Mhm.
But being human, he sees what you were going through with your mother, and this is obviously, I wasn't there, I don't know, but yeah, he saw what you were going through with your mother, and he felt that
Yeah, he was
this was
angry.
his
I could
approach,
tell.
was because he was upset because you're his client, not your mother.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I
But
mean,
we
I
also have
understood.
to
Yeah, I understood why he was
distance.
doing it.
And keep a boundary, and the session ended before she showed up.
No.
Right, exactly.
And the reason why
It's difficult, we're
this
human.
came back to my mind was because this whole trial with this guy that murdered his family, put them in the oil tanks and stuff. This
think that
husband
was
that killed his
recent.
wife because
Wasn't
he
it
had a
recent?
mistress and wanted to leave her, but she was pregnant and had 2 other kids, and he was like tired of being married.
Okay.
So he murdered the 2 little girls and the wife that was pregnant. And anyways,
Oh, I think I heard about this, and he hid their bodies in the.
so anyways, he had the cara, like the big face of like telling police, I have no idea where they are. He did conferences and everything, and he had like this
Yes.
smile, and he couldn't even control the smile. It's like, I don't know where they are. I hope they're alive. I hope they're good. And then he would go like that, trying to hide his emotions. and I was looking at the FBI interview that they did with him, and I'm looking at how these people were so professional, and this lady, she it was a male and a female FBI agents that were doing the final interview with him, like right before he got arrested, and they did a lie detector. Yeah. So obviously he failed. So the lady did it, and she was like, well, as you know, you usually didn't pass, you failed the test, da da da. And then the male guy, the FBI agent, he noticed how he wasn't giving up. He was like, no, I didn't do anything. I would never. And then he started saying, the FBI agent started saying, I understand, you're a provider. You're a family person. I know you wouldn't do anything like this. Did she do something wrong and you had to punish her? And that's how, he got into, like, oh, I have empathy for you, so you should tell me the truth. So he's like, oh yeah, he lied. He's like, she killed my daughter, so I had to kill her. And long story short, the FBI agent is telling this guy, maybe she fucked up, like maybe she screwed up, she was cheating on you, maybe, she's the bad one in the story. The lady, she was like, trying to hold her emotions, because he was talking bad about females, so he could get that connection with the criminal. And she was like, and then she was able to relax herself again, and then when he confessed on tape to his dad, she came in and she was like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I will be able to do that. Say, hi, you fucking criminal piece of shit, you killed your daughter.
So I don't deal with criminals, that's not my population. And that's a different kind of person, a different kind of element, who can deal with that.
And those FBI agents are trained.
That's a
Right.
strong
Yes.
element, though.
So,
I was looking at that.
The
and I'm like,
psychology of
wow.
empathy, the psychology of rapport, of building that connection. And your therapist, you were his client, not your mom. And maybe his strategy was, let me show her
yeah,
that
Someone has her
I am
back. Yeah.
on her side.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, maybe that was.
That's why I say, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you asking what you're asking? What is your strategy? And does it align with your therapeutic model? Does it align with your theory? This should all make sense. This should all be in alignment. That's why, what kind of therapist do you want to be? If you're gonna focus solely on behavior, positive and negative reinforcement, you're gonna have a very different therapy model and a very different practice than someone who's psychoanalytic. So we need to know what therapy we like. A humanistic therapist is very client-centered, very positive psychology, very optimistic, very upbeat. Probably aren't gonna sit there and say, yeah, life fucking sucks.
Oh, my therapist said
But maybe he or she isn't a humanist. But that's what I'm saying. You find your theory, and that's how you're gonna practice. And these things are in alignment. That's why you start thinking, why am I asking this question? Where is my line of questioning coming from? So this is very Jungian, archetypes and myth and symbol, because I'm very much psychoanalytic. And I didn't know that about myself at first. You start discovering this. I had no clue. And then I started realizing what I was really drawn to. So you're not going to know right off the bat, but that's why you're learning different theories and different techniques. And sometimes it's just, we were talking today about insurance. Sometimes insurance only gives you 8 sessions. So that therapist has to be very solution focused, has to be very brief. There has to be something that is a change that they can help enact, or an awareness in a very short period of time.
And also, people are very impatient, and they're not gonna sit there for 2 years to get, very few people going to analysis for 2-3 years. They, unless you have the money to just give to these people, and that's what your comfort level is, but most people are like, I'm broken, fix me, you know? I need to get out of this funk I'm in, so help me, and you need to do it quick. So,
Right.
because they will give up, they won't come back to you
And
unless
if
you
that's
show
not
them.
your model, then you don't see those people,
Right,
or you do what you can.
that's
So
why,
it's important to know what therapeutic modality you're working from. That's why in the books, the most important thing in your textbooks is reading the theories. Know the theories, know which one you're working from, because that's going to orient you with your client over and over and over again.
and some therapists will put that in their advertisement. You know, there's Christian-based, there's the psychoanalytic-based, I mean, they will specifically put that so clients will know what they're gonna see them, you know, what doctor they're seeing, what therapist they're seeing. The other thing is, the first session is the most important one. If you don't connect and since you're not making that connection, you need to find somebody else. It should only take one session.
And people shouldn't be afraid, but oftentimes they're afraid. That's why we educate our clients in our first session of what therapy, we give them a handout, we tell them the rules of therapy. That's why goal setting in session number 1 is so important. What are your goals for therapy? So that you and the client are on the same page.
Right, and it's not your goal as a therapist, it's what they want. What do you want to achieve? What is it that you want to get out of our relationship?
I have something to ask, because going back to what she said about how her doctor treated her mom. So my mom put me in psychology with psychologists all throughout, like starting when I was like 16 because of the rebellious state. So I thought I could not only confide in the psychologist what I was telling him, but my mom would ask me, oh, so what did you talk about or what did you say? So I would tell her. And she's like, oh, that doctor's crazy. He doesn't know what. And still to this day, with my neurologist, how she told me to throw
Right, the
away.
pills.
And like a dumbass, I did it. She's like, oh, I still think that you should be on this medication, and I think you need to talk to him because he's not treating you the way he. I'm like, okay, but he's a doctor. Like, maybe he knows a little bit more.
Did you go to medical school
I
for
know,
like 20
that's
years?
what I'm saying. So I did talk to my doctor because I was on Depakote like years ago. So I told them that I want to try it out again. But Depakote has this effect that if I get pregnant, there's a high risk of like stuff.
Pregnancy,
Yeah. But what medicine doesn't. But anyways, he
Don't
also.
get pregnant, lady.
No, I know. I told him, hell no. With one is more than sufficient. So he told me that he's gonna do it after the surgery because that medicine, if I do it now, he's gonna have to stop me like 3 months before because it makes you bleed out. So that's what we're going for. But I wanted to know, why would my mom take me to a psychologist and then claim that he's the one that has issues?
What's the theme there? What is the symbol?
She always has to be, right?
Which is,
Yeah, like,
it's not on here, but what are doctors, what are teachers, what are lawyers, what are judges, what are professionals?
High power. And she wanted to
Authorities.
have,
Sorry.
Authority. And her mother wants to be the authority in her life.
and exactly.
And so she is rebelling.
by not going with what the mom's saying, but versus the doctor's.
But her issue, and what you can take her to 0 to 7 is the issue of rebellion. She is rebelling against authority. And the authority in her life right now is her mother, and she doesn't like it. So she's trying to find a different authority figure, her doctor, to counteract that.
And also, I did ask her, I've been asked her a long time ago, let's go to therapy together, before she wanted to do it, now she says that Jesus is her only.
Of course, Jesus is her authority,
Yeah.
and you need to find your
Yeah,
authority
exactly.
in your
She's
life.
like, you need to find, but then she counteracts it.
Of
That's why I'm
course,
like, why?
of course,
would you
because the
send
person's
me?
belief is the person's belief.
No.
I cannot see your mother and change her authority from Jesus to whom I want her to see
Right.
me, let's say, she would definitely benefit from a Christian type of counseling,
Yeah.
where Jesus is the authority, the Bible is the authority. That doesn't serve you, because that's not your belief system. So you're listening for the metaphors and the symbols, but your basic issue is you're having difficulty with authority, and what you want to rebel is authority. You're never going to change your mother's view that Jesus is her husband. So your job is not to change your mother's view that Jesus is her husband. Your job is to find an authority in your own life. Right now it might be the doctor. My job would be to make you the authority in your own life. To make you realize that.
Yeah.
That you know best for you, you know best for your child, but that's a process. So first we take you from not throwing away your meds to believing in your doctor. That's a shift in authority figure, a huge one, because the doctor knows. So once you can get the client to shift from mother to doctor, she can definitely change from doctor to herself, because she's already proven that she could do it.
Baby steps.
Baby
And
steps.
that's why
It's just a tiny erection.
that's
it.
why I told her to her face already.
Can you
Because
find that handout with the different?
Oh, I have to go downstairs.
Oh, no, we're not.
Oh,
Bring it up.
I made a
told
note
her
to bring it next time.
that she no longer, she's upset is because she wants me right here, and I'm no longer here. Now you're doing it with your son, and eventually my brother's gonna get tired. My brother's already tired of her crap, but my brother gives in. My brother was like my dad. He like just.
But that's not your problem.
Exactly. So I told her, you're just.
Your
upset
problem is you
because
and your son."
You no longer have me here. So now.
And we don't have to say these things to the people in our life. Doing the work is what shows that you're no longer here. But if you need to tell her, then you need to tell her. If that reinforces it for you, then you do that. But do you see how Paula's issue is authority? That's her theme, that's her metaphor. So her mother's authority is Jesus. She's not going to change her mother's authority. She needs to change her authority. We take her to the doctor. Doctor knows best. That's a small step. Once she gets healthy, then we take her from the doctor to herself. And then she becomes the authority in her own life and the authority in her child's life. That's a progression for a person who has a theme, who has a symbol of rebellion, authority, things like that. And that we just picked up from what she shared in the story. So you just listen. The symbols will come. The clients will speak. If you create an empathic space, if you create a supportive space, they will share. They will open up. Because remember, none of us had unconditional love from our parents. None of us. We don't know how to give it to ourselves. How the hell are we going to give it to our child or to another human being? So our job is to provide that safe space so the person isn't judged and criticized. And once we don't judge them and criticize them, that's why it's important to look at the video and see our nonverbals and stuff like that. Then they're going to trust us. And then we can slowly start moving them, if they're ready, and it's all about the client, because you don't work harder than your client, to the issue. So right now, Our only concern with you is that you listen to your doctor. That you change the authority in your life from your mother to the doctor. We can't leap to herself. She's not ready yet. She's not there yet. And it's important that we understand and we meet our clients where we're at. That's why if the therapist didn't understand that you defend your mom, I had the same thing. My mom took me, 15 years old, to a therapist, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist, I don't even know, and he started talking bad about my mother. I stood up within 10 minutes, I said, "You're not blaming my mother for this," and I walked out. He's like, "Are you coming back?" And I said, "Nope." I'm a water. My mother, the womb, is important. Are you kidding? Started attacking my mom. Same thing. I could talk about her, but no one else can.
Pretty much.
So,
That's how that works.
The last time I went, he was, "Oh, you know, from what I'm hearing, you're not supposed to be here. Your mom is." That was the last time I went. I'm like, I'm the one that's here. I'm the one that wants to change. Forget about my mom. If she doesn't want to change, that's her
exactly.
problem. But I'm the one here. You can't tell me, "Oh, you're okay. Go send in your mom." You can't say that. Like, I'm the one that wants to learn to accept it, deal with it, and overcome it. I don't want to just, "Oh no, it's my mom's fault. Let her change."
And you cannot blame someone else.
For everything.
Does it suck? Yes. Can someone be an asshole in your life? Yes. My husband left me. He's an asshole. But it is my responsibility to live my life without him. Independent of that fact. You're a jerk. You left. It is my life. Independent of the fact that your mother is a crazy shithead. It is your life.
Yeah. And it's true. Like, I've noticed, unfortunately, I have noticed that sometimes I do. It's not that I play the victim. It's just that I sound like the victim. Even though, like, I don't want to sound like the victim. But, like, I have noticed that I do make her feel bad. Because sometimes I say things that they don't come out right. Like, even in my head, they sound okay, but when it comes out, it's like, "Oh shit, fuck, I fucked up, I'm sorry." But I can't say that to her, I can't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I fucked up." Like,
Why?
I can't speak to my mom. Like, the last time, for Valentine's Day, her friend invited us over to her house, and she was talking, she goes over her son that was like on the other side of the house, so he could get her more food. And she was like sitting down, and she was like, "Yeah, whatever I tell him, he does it." Like, not like, he's my slave, but he's like, "Oh, my son is so nice that, whatever I ask him to do something, he does it." And in my head, I wanted to make my mom feel special too. So I was like, "Oh yeah, my mom too. My mom, she sends me texts, 'Hey, bring me water,' and I bring it to her." So the next day, my mom brings up to my attention that she's like, "Oh, I'm getting tired of this. You always make me feel like shit in front of others." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh, you said in front of my friend how I treat you like a slave. That when I want water or when I want you to turn down the AC and shit like that." I'm like, actually, that was like the first time I've ever corrected my mom. I'm like, "Actually, Mom, I understand why you thought it came out like that, and I see your point of view. However, this is how I meant it. I meant it for you to, in front of your friend that always has the best things and she has like the best son, I wanted her to see that you also have a good daughter." And she was like, she kind of like,
Oh, I have a story.
Okay,
so she realized that, even though it came out horrible, which I see it now, that it did
do
come
you have
out
a lot of
horrible.
air?
Huh?
Do you have a lot of air or little air in your chart? Air element.
Oh, I got for air, earth, and what's the other one?
Fire.
Did you get them all the same?
Water, earth, and air, 3. All
Okay,
3.
so
And then
quite a
fire,
bit.
1.
Okay, so you do have the ability to speak up.
Yeah.
It's like Carmen. Carmen doesn't speak. She has a lot of air. And when we were doing her thing the other day, I said, "Speak. Because you have, there's an intellect there, there's things to say. So if someone has a lot of an element and they're not utilizing, there's a story there. Maybe some place she was embarrassed. Maybe she said something and came out wrong. And you go work with the client on that.
I don't talk to my mom because she always takes it the wrong way. Like I have,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, but you did.
Yeah.
But what
that's
did
And
her
she
style.
showed you that